So hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms. I am Jason, and today we have a special Skype session here with
Jay, or Krazy, by the way.
So yeah, we're coming up in the world a little bit. We jumped up from the conference call to doing Skype now, and you know, I know there's a way. Yeah, I know there's a way to do this, like and actually record this, but you know, in my you know, primitive ways of figuring out all this newfangled technology, I have not taken the time to figure that out yet. So we're just going to record via computer here, right onto the camera.
Yeah, that's just fine too.
Yeah, it'll work.
It's Memorex. That's okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully the sound is working good. But I am sitting here at home in Indiana. Krazy's here over in Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, taking advantage of technology at its finest.
21st century.
So yeah, man, we sat down and we tried to make a list of like all of the trilogies, and there are tons. Now, the first thing I have to mention here is, you know, the only films that we're going to talk about that can be included in this trilogy talk are films that only have 3 films. It can't have a 4th film. Like some of the ones I can think of right off the bat is Alien, where we can't include that because there is a 4th one. There is a prequel, which we could, I don't know about that. But, you know, also like Terminator, there's Terminator Salvation, now Scream, there's Scream 4, so that automatically disqualifies those from this conversation. This is filmed strictly with just 3 films. Now, the one exception we do have is films like Star Wars, because there is an original trilogy and there is a prequel trilogy, so that can be included in this discussion.
Yeah, they're split up, so they're both basically their own trilogies. They're not 6. They are 6 films together, but they're also been in their own continuities, 3 films together each.
Yeah, very distinct. You know, prequel and original. You know, so
yeah, and that can count as just 3 films. I mean, no problem.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll get right to it. What about like the Jurassic Park trilogy?
I enjoy that trilogy. I mean, Part 3 I think is actually pretty underrated. From what I saw, I mean, I've seen that movie before and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But Part 2 I think is the weak link of that trilogy.
Yeah.
I really don't care for that movie at all. I mean, the first movie is of course a classic.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, and for me, it's like, as far as picking my top 5, if I thought like one movie was a weak link, then I discounted that trilogy. Like originally I was gonna put Transformers in my top 5, but I decided not to because Part 2 is just a disaster. So,
yeah.
And SpiderMan, you know, as far as that goes. But Jurassic Park is a good trilogy, I'd say, altogether. I mean, all 3 films they're connected, but they're also different, which is good. Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing with a lot of trilogies, is you get at least one film that's weak, and it's typically the 3rd one. Usually, it seems like when you look at all of the trilogies there are.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what we talked about before too. Is like, it was nice because like Nolan's Batman trilogy just completely turned everything around. It was like another great trilogy.
Yeah. And it's hard to find that, you know. Well, you know, some other ones that we have to talk about that have to be excluded from this list that maybe we could talk about a little bit. Superman, Indiana Jones, Phantasm, Saw, and Sleepaway Camp.
Oh,
that's another one.
Movies.
Yeah, those are ones that, you know, have to be excluded because, you know, of course, they've continued on after that original trilogy. And the one that I really hated to leave out of the list, well, 2 are, you know, Phantasm and Sleepaway Camp. Well, Terminator 2, because Terminator 2 is like, Part 2 is one of my favorite films ever, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and I'll say that too, easily.
Yeah.
One of the best films of all time.
So it sucks having to leave those out, but, you know, there are there's quite a bit that we could find here, and like I said, this is by no means a definitive list. I mean, there's several more trilogies out there you can talk about, but these are just ones that we wanted to discuss and bring up, and then also mention our top 5. So I guess let's see here what we got. First up, how about we talk about this? the Exorcist trilogy.
Ooh, yeah. Well,
Which,
the problem is I haven't seen all those though.
yeah, you know, the thing with this is, you know, I guess it could be disqualified because it does have 2 different prequels, and, you know, but I don't know. Part 1, I mean, it goes without saying, fucking amazing.
Oh yeah. That movie by itself.
Have you seen 2 or 3?
No, I haven't seen either of those.
Part 2, I vaguely remember it. I saw it years ago, and I remembered hating it as a kid, so I just never revisited it. And Part 3, I actually saw Part 3 in the theater, and I remember it being pretty decent, but I would like to watch it again because that movie does have quite a strong following, actually. Part 3. I've never picked it up yet.
That was actually on last night, and I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. And I like to watch movies the whole way through, and like, but that has this one classic scene where this so terrifying, where this like nun or something like busts out of this hospital room, like right after this guy with the shrieking like music and stuff. It's a really terrifying scene, and that's what I know about that movie. Just that one scene is just absolutely it's creepy.
Yeah,
I don't know much about other than that scene. I don't know much about that.
Yeah,
The first movie's just so classic anyway.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, the first movie is definitely one of the greatest horror films. But yeah, Part 3, I need to watch it again. It's just been so damn long since I've watched it, and you know, I need to just pick it up. I mean, I know it's really cheap. So yeah, that's one we could mention in there. I don't think this doesn't make our top 5. No, especially with you not saying it. But you know, with me seeing all 3, this, you know, the first one I hold in such high regard, but 2 and 3, you know, I would not put this in a top 5. I guess we just, you know, we'll go through these and then at the end just mention our top 5. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sound a good deal. So do you got something there?
Oh yeah. These are some that are the good, the bad, the ugly, and a fistful of dollars, and for a few dollars more. That's Sergio Leone's Man with No Name trilogy, or the Dollar trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorites of all time. But yeah, for a few reasons. One, because Sergio Leone really they're just the quintessential westerns that he like helped craft and mold. And like, if you watch them all, it's like it's so beautifully set in the West and everything, and the landscapes are just perfect.
Oh yeah.
And the music, the score by Ennio Morricone. I mean, that's jeez. That alone is what just puts it up there for me. That is one of my favorites of all time, absolutely. And Clint Eastwood, all the performances are just beautiful. It's beautifully shot. I could go on and on. That is, I mean, that's a good trilogy. It's, you know, I mean, I don't know if it's talked about a lot, but I mean, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the greatest, you know, westerns. I mean, you know, I just think that goes without saying. I mean, it defined Western films, you know, in a lot of ways, and it's pretty much become the standard setter. You think of Westerns, I mean, you automatically, the good, the bad, and ugly, whether you're a fan of Westerns or not, you know.
Oh yeah, exactly, because that's like in like, you know, popular culture. That movie alone is huge.
Yeah.
And you know, Clint Eastwood, what he did with the Man with No Name is just incredible. I mean, he doesn't even have that many lines in those. He's unbelievable.
You know, another thing that's really amazing about just Clint Eastwood in general is how he's had a solid, complete career of like amazing acting, amazing films. You know, like there's never been a point where it's like dropped off and been like, well, you know, he was good up until this point, because you look clear up to his last acting performance of Gran Torino. You know, it's amazing what that man's done, and then also, you know, past that into, you know, just directing films. I mean, he's definitely one of Hollywood's greatest performers in general, just greatest assets, I guess you could say.
Oh, he is, yeah. His work speaks for itself. It's just so good.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll continue on here with, well, you know, we can't include the Underworld trilogy because there is a part 4. I was going to say Underworld, but that's another one. I just remembered that. That has to be excluded because there is a 4th one. Okay, so we just mentioned this one, but what about Transformers trilogy? Which there is going to be a part 4, but as of right now, there's only 3 films.
I love part 1 and 3. Those two are both great movies. I mean, 3 especially is just awesome.
I totally agree, man. You know, part 1, I thought it was cool. I thought it was, you know, pretty good for what it is. It's mindless entertainment. It's Michael Bay films. I mean, you know what you're going to get: tons of explosions, not a lot of story, and just a bunch of chaos. Which that's what these films are. And you know, the first one I thought was good. The second one was just, oh man. I mean, I can watch it for, you know, like a train wreck type, you know, mentality. But I will say the Blu-ray to part 2 looks phenomenal. And actually, all 3 of these films, they look so unbelievably good on Blu-ray. It's amazing. But yeah, part 3, I would agree. I think part 3 is the strongest entry out of the 3. There's good. It has a really. I like the story. You know, you have an emotional attachment to the characters. They definitely improved that over part 2, which that's kind of surprising because usually when you get stuff like this and has a bad entry, they're bad from then on. It's very rare for them to get better with a third entry with a film like this.
Oh yeah, and part 3 like completely turned it around because part 2 was so dismal, and then part 3 actually, you know, went against the stereotype that you talked about.
Yeah, you saw all 3 of these in the theater, didn't you?
Yeah, and they were amazing. Part 3 was just unbelievable.
Man, I actually didn't see any of them in the theater at all, but this is the 3D Blu-ray, and you know, the 3D in this, I thought, you know, as far as on the Blu-ray, looks really good. And, you know, I still say, like, the last 45 minutes to an hour of this film is some of the best action sequences as far as, like, you know, a big Hollywood, you know, CGI produced type film. This is some of the best action you will find.
Oh, it is, yeah. And that's like for an hour and 45 minutes of just action.
Yeah.
And it's all enthralling stuff.
Just amazing. So, yeah, that is the Transformers trilogy. Now, we'll bring up a classic here, Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3, which you said you have not seen part 3 of this, right?
No, I've only seen 1 and 2.
Man, that's just incredible. Yeah, you need to see part 3. I mean, you know, this is an example of a trilogy where part 1 and 2 are great, and part 3 is just kind of, you know, it's kind of, okay. You know, I mean, you know, they definitely had the problems with, what's her name? I can't even remember the damn name. Heather O'Rourke passing away during the production, and, you know, they had to fill in certain scenes with body doubles and stuff like that. So, I mean, you know, it was a marred production, but, you know, still just the script and everything in general is just okay. But part 1 and part 2, man, are just awesome films. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I love those 2.
Yeah.
They're so perfect. I mean, Kane is so creepy, man.
Oh, man, he is. And that guy, you know, it's amazing that, you know, he was dying of cancer and knew it, and, you know, wanted this to, like, be his swan song and gave it his all. And, man, I mean, I would say he definitely succeeded. I mean, he puts on one of the most creepiest performances out of anybody I've ever seen. He's one of the silver screen's true awesome bad guys.
Oh yeah, and unsung heroes too, because just that performance alone.
Yeah, especially, you know, the whole God is in his holy temple song and shit, man. It's just, and he's walking up in the rain, and it's only raining like on him, and when he's there, and it's yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah, creepy stuff, man. But yeah, the Poltergeist trilogy, I mean, that's definitely one you have to talk about when you're talking about all-time great trilogies. You know, just, you know, all 3 films kind of had their mark in them of just, you know, bad luck, man. With the one daughter getting killed in the first one after the first one. And and then the second one, of course, Kane died, and then the guy that played the Indian passed away, and then in the third one, Heather O'Rourke passed. So it was definitely some creepy coincidences with this trilogy.
Oh, I know. It was like marked by bad luck, it seemed like.
Yeah.
It's such a shame, you know?
Yeah. So do you have something else there?
Oh, yeah. This is an unofficial trilogy of sorts. The John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, starting with The Thing and Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness. And it's a trilogy because they all deal with the apocalypse, and you know that's why he considered his Apocalypse trilogy. And the Prince of Darkness and the Mouth of Madness are hardly not talked about at all, which is a shame because those are two of my favorite horror movies ever. And The Thing too, I mean that goes without saying because how much that's talked about. But the other two are hardly mentioned at all.
Yeah. That is true, man. They really aren't. You know, I mean, The Thing's always brought up, but yeah, the other two just kind of, you know, they're not mentioned much. Now, as far as being the Apocalypse trilogy, does Carpenter acknowledge that as the Apocalypse trilogy, or is that just something that the fans have came up with?
No, he acknowledges that as his Apocalypse trilogy.
Yeah.
He said that before, and because also they all have something to do with H.P. Lovecraft, and that's, I mean, even the smallest amount of hints, I mean, you know, homage, and that's one of his favorite, you know, authors and stuff, and that influence always seeps into his work too. I mean, even in The Fog, you can see a Lovecraft influence. Especially.
Yeah.
Like in The Mouth of Madness, I've always said, is like that's the best Lovecraft movie that's not a Lovecraft movie.
Yeah.
That's what I always say, because I mean, it's just, man, that's probably my top 5 movies of all time, but definitely horror films.
Yeah.
Madnesses.
Yeah, and that's definitely 3 strong films there, no question.
Oh, it is, and they're never mentioned. I mean, but just because I don't think a lot of people know it as a trilogy, because there's not really a clear thread between all 3.
Yeah.
Except the mention of and how bleak they are, and the apocalypse, you know.
Yeah. So, okay, the next one we'll talk about, which is one you haven't seen before, but this is another one that is, you know, it got a big buzz for a while, and it seems like now you don't hear anybody talk about this at all, and it is the Gingersnaps trilogy. 1, 2, and 3, which is a prequel. Now, you haven't seen any of these at all, right? Yeah, this is a very good werewolf series, which Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins, they play sisters, and excuse me, they play sisters that actually Catherine Isabel is bit by a werewolf. She's a werewolf throughout the first one, and the second one it's mainly Emily Perkins. She's the werewolf in this. And then in the third one, it is a prequel that takes it back to the 19th century. And it's kind of weird, you know, because there's no mention of why this is. You know, is it an alternate reality? Is it, you know, some type of reincarnation type thing, like of a past life? You don't really know. But, you know, the first 2 films, there is a continuity between them. It's very good. And, you know, the third one is, I think the third one is good as a standalone film. But this is a trilogy that, in my opinion, it's strong throughout. All 3 films, I think, are very good. And I think it's a shame that more people don't talk about these films anymore. It's just, you know, they've kind of fell by the wayside. And I think that that's pretty unfortunate myself. And I know you're going to borrow these films soon and check them out, right?
Yes, I must. I want to see them really bad.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, you know, they're low budget, but they're just good. I mean, it's, you know, I think it's good, strong acting. I think the effects are good. It's all complete practical effects in all 3 films. I think the werewolves look really good. Like, you know, it's funny because like Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins, they have a feminine quality to them, kind of like in The Howling, where oh shit, what's her name? The mom from E.T., where she changes into a werewolf at the end. She's kind of got a feminine look. That's kind of how it is in this. Like, they have a real feminine, kind of almost a seductive look to them. I think it's pretty cool that they did it, that they're just not werewolves, you know. They have a feminine quality to them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good that they have that so unique about it, too.
Yeah, I think you'll really like them. But yeah, guys, if you've never seen the Gingersnap trilogy, check it out. These are 3 films worth seeing. I'm sure you can find these for really cheap. I mean, I got this one used for $5.99, and that was years ago. So, I mean, you could probably get it for $5.99 new now. I'm not sure. But, yeah, the Gingersnap trilogies is definitely worth checking out, in my opinion. Okay, now let's get into some of the heavy hitters. Okay, now we'll talk about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which you have not seen all of these either, correct?
No, I fell asleep through some of the theater. So.
I'm sure there's other people watching this that's happened to also.
Yeah, needless. I mean, I have really so much respect for Peter Jackson, but those movies just didn't do it for me. I only saw him once, but I need to see him again. I mean, of course, but I don't know. I just wasn't blown away by him like I expected to be.
Now you saw all of Fellowship of the Ring and just some of the Two Towers, right?
Right.
And none of the Return of the King, right? See, that's a shame, because that's the one that really picks up Return of the King. That's kind of like Episode 3 of Star Wars, where it kind of builds up and then it just blows up in the third film. It's kind of like that. And this is the extended editions on Blu-ray, which these run close to 4 hours apiece. Like, I think Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers they're like 3 hours and 45 minutes, right around there, maybe give or take a few minutes. And then the Return of the King, it's like almost right at 4 hours, I believe. So, I mean, you're looking at 12 hours for 3 films. So, it is an endurance test. But, man, I just, oh my God, I absolutely love these films. I unfortunately did not see them in the theaters. I saw them on DVD for the first time. I saw them one time through. I picked up the Blu-ray set, and just, this is the first time I watched the extended editions. And I just love it, because I've read the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers. I've not read the Return of the King. I have them all three in like one big ass, gigantic fucking book. But the books are just amazing, and these films, they kind of deviate away from the actual story somewhat. It follows them as close as you can, I guess you could say. It's kind of like American Psycho, where you would look at it and read it and think it's unfilmable. But Peter Jackson was such a fan and knew him in and out. He was able to find a way to make these into a great film trilogy, and this is highly regarded. This is looked at by many people as the greatest trilogy of all time, even over Star Wars. A lot of people think. Yeah. Now, one downside I will say about this now, that these have been out for, close to 10 years since Return of the King was released, I believe it was. Yeah, it's right around 10 years since that was released. On Blu-ray, seeing this in high def, the crystal clear picture, some of the CG effects look horrible, like the Ents, the walking trees. There's parts with them that's just like, man, it looks bad. Like, it has not aged well, some of those parts. And there's other parts that I would put up against almost anything I've seen, as far as the effects, still to this day. And this right here was kind of a turning point for me personally. Like, up until this, I pretty much shunned all CGI. Like, fuck it all sucks. But Peter Jackson did this in a way where he, put CGI with practical effects. It's kind of like marrying the two styles together, and I think that it was really awesome he did that. There's been a lot of people that's done it since, but this is one of the first set of films that I really remember him doing that on, and it worked for me,
Yeah, I need to give him more of a chance, and I would watch him again. It's just that, like I said, I've set aside like a whole day or 2 days to do it.
At least you might need a little. You might need a week. Watch like 2 hours, which would be a half of one film. Go eat, do something else, come back.
I know, you might as well.
So yeah, Lord of the Rings, just awesome set in my opinion. Love this, and actually I have to say also, this set in general is probably the greatest Blu-ray set released. Like, it's just phenomenal. I mean, with how much stuff they put on here. I mean, it's just a humongous set, really heavy, awesome set. Well worth picking up, man. It's an amazing set.
That's sweet.
All right, so next we'll talk about Sam Raimi's SpiderMan trilogy.
Yeah.
So,
Spider-Man 1 and 2, when they came out, I remember seeing them in theaters. I absolutely love Part 2. That's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, I think. But then Part 3 came out.
Yeah. Part 3 has its moments, but it's just a clusterfuck, man. I mean, they tried to put, and I don't know if it's Raimi's fault, the studio's fault, or whatever, but they tried to put way too much into it, and it's just overkill. Kind of like, Van Helsing, where, it's a good idea, but it's too ambitious. There's too much going on, and it's just like sensory overload.
Like the execution is too much.
Yeah. Part 1 is great. I love Part 1. I was just amazed at what he could do with that. I was kind of nervous, being such a Sam Raimi fan, and him doing this, like, wow, that's a big jump, and he pulled it off. And then, of course, like you said, Part 2 is just amazing, and that's regarded in many circles as like the greatest superhero film still. Like, that's still on many people's list now, even with the reboot being out there. And then 3, 3 is just whatever.
I would love to see just the Harry, like I said, like the Harry Osborn story in that. Just finishing that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because it would have been focused on him and Harry and his revenge against Peter Parker. That would have been great.
Yeah, I think, the studio or whoever, just trying to throw everything in there. And even if they would have had it with him and then just the Sandman and not throwing in Venom, or just Venom, not throwing in Sandman, it would have been a big difference. And then saving one of those characters for a 4th film, which they were trying to work out a 4th film, and it didn't work out, and they just said to hell with it and rebooted the series.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, as bad as Spider-Man 3 did, it's understandable, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, I don't agree with the reboot that fast. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It'd be kind of hypocritical for me to say, that, because for me myself, because I agree that it is too soon. But then again, like with Batman, I'm ready for a reboot, just because with that though, what's different is there's a definitive ending, with Nolan's trilogy. It's like with this, it was left open-ended, and they were talking about a 4th film and all this. And then they're like, well, hell with it, we'll just reboot it. I don't think it was handled well as, Batman was, and you could see a reboot and them doing a total different shift in tone and everything, whereas this was rebooted. And yeah, okay, it wasn't played as campy. Peter Parker's supposedly more like he was in the comics, and he's not, a whiner or whatever, but it's still pretty much the same tone, which I know you haven't seen the new Spider-Man. I have, and it's just, to me, it was just way too soon, and especially to do an origin story again, it's just whatever, man. It's just, I felt like I'd seen everything with that film. I don't really want to get into talking about that, but we kind of have to mention it, I guess, now.
Well, yeah, since it's, basically a new Spider-Man anyway.
Yeah, but these 3 films, I mean, even with 3 not being great, it's still a good trilogy, and I guess it falls back onto there being a weak film a lot of times with these 3rd films. So
it's a fun movie. 3's a fun movie for what it is.
Yeah, it's something you can put in while you're cleaning or playing cards or doing something. It's not something you really want to put in and try to pay attention to, because there's just too much shit and it's going to lose your attention. Just put it on and clean the house or something. Watch 1 and 2 and then get up and do something while 3's on, and you'll be okay, right?
Well, when 3's on the TV, normally I watch it. I mean, I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah, the train wreck, man. It's the train wreck.
Yeah, that's why. Emo Spider-Man is so ridiculous. That's the dumbest part of that whole movie.
Oh man, the musical part. Oh my god.
That's so cheesy and stupid. I mean, stupid in a bad way to me.
I don't know what they were thinking when they did that shit, man. That's just bad.
No, there's like no purpose for that.
Yeah.